Hello there fellow modelers, and welcome to Genesis Models, where we're going to be building Tamiya's 1/48 scale Me262 A-1a. Now this kit is a pretty damn good kit. It really does go together rather well. We've got great surface detail with recessed panel lines and recessed rivets. We do get a pilot also with this kit, which is pretty half decent, and a really cool cockpit as well, as you can see from those lovely dials. Now this kit does, this instructions on this part are a little bit sort of confusing, so I'm just sort of showing you how it goes together, so it's just a little bit more clear. You'll notice when you look at the instructions. Now the gun bay, if you're not opening up the gun bay, you don't have to add all the guns and all that kind of stuff, so don't worry about that. Now we're going to jump straight in with the decals. Right, I've already painted the cockpit up because I'm just making it basic. I've just sort of shown you the decals. Coming in with a micro sole to start with, right, not micro set. We're going to put the micro sole straight on top and then put the decal on top of that. Right, we really want this to conform to that complex shape, so we're really going to town with the micro sole. Right, and we can use a sewing needle in a pin vise just to maneuver that perfectly. You've got to try and get it right because you want those dials to sink in the right place. Right, this is going to take quite a few coats of that micro sole just to get it to conform, but if you keep at it, you will eventually get there, and they do look actually really cool. So it kind of saves you going off and getting like photo etch and all that kind of stuff. I'm using the bristles here to kind of help push it down as well, so don't be afraid to do that. Now we're going to be using XF63 and XF16 for the cockpit. As I say, I'm just quickly going through this just to kind of move that along, kind of basic cockpit going on there. Again, same with the underside, just showing you the detail of it. I mean, that's just a basic black wash on there. As you can see, I'll just use the panel line black wash and the light grey by Ammo and MIG. So that is the cockpit area and everything. Now we're just going to go into doing our wheels here. Now you don't really want to have that wiggling about, but you kind of got no choice but to have that bit of landing gear. But I did find throughout the build I didn't really break it off, right? But now we're going to clamp this all down. Before we do any kind of gluing, we want to make sure everything fits in place, right? So clamps, kind of get all that sorted, and pegs if you need to as well, and then we glue it in scale modeling. I'm also using my nail here just to make sure we've got no steps, right? If you can get rid of those steps, it saves you a lot of sanding down the line. And then we can use the Tamiya thin cement, use that capillary action. It sucks right where the join line is and gets it glued perfectly where it is. That's the beauty about using Tamiya thin cement these days. The wing section does go together rather beautifully. No real issues there. Just kind of running again. Tamiya thin cement down the glue line, getting that pegs on there as well. Now, as you can see, the gun bay, when you close it, a little bit of problems here and there. And I did find if we cut that little bit of piece out there, things just fit so much more nicer and better. And we're just going to now sort of glue that down with some Tamiya extra thin cement, and you might just a little bit of a push and it actually kind of closes up some of them gaps that you might be seeing there. But we've still got a bit of work, as you can see, to do on that later on down the line. So we're just going to now mask this up, but I did find that actually always good to, before you kind of mask, a bit of IPA, clean the area up, and it just helps your Tamiya masking tape to kind of stick a little bit better, because you might have greasy fingers like I do now and again, a bit sweaty. Right, now we're going to get some of the green putty out by Squadron, and as you see, because we've masked it up, we're only going to be making a mess where we've left things unmasked, so I do recommend we do that now and then. And we're just kind of getting that all done. And while we've got the green putty out, we've got little gaps here and there on like leading edges and stuff. We can again kind of work that into the gap and let that dry. We're now going to start sanding. I normally like to sand with a really nice coarse sanding stick just to get the big bobbly bits off first, and then I kind of work down to sponge sanding sticks so we can go with the curvature of the model, and we can work down from coarse, medium, fine, and when we get down to the fine, I don't mind removing the masking tape, because I know with a fine sanding stick I'm not going to damage any of the recessed panel lines and stuff, so I don't mind kind of removing the masking tape then. And as you can see, that has nicely filled that pretty big gap in. Now I do like to keep my fuselage and wing sections separate, just because, as you can see, we can get into those corners so much easier than if we had it all together. So I'll keep that unglued. Again, sponging sanding sticks are always good for those curves, which I did start off with like a medium grit sanding stick, then I went down to Tamiya's 3000 grit sanding stick to kind of finish it off. It's a really good fitting kit, so we don't have to kind of go really that coarse to remove all our join lines and seam lines. I'm just actually completely removing recessed sort of panel lines here, the circle ones. I find it's better just to totally remove them and then completely and utterly put new ones in. Now the Mr. Tool Cleaner is quite a nice cleaner for cleaning up your tools after using things like green putty and pretty much anything. It just abolishes anything, so it's a really good cleaner for any tools or anything like that. And as you can see here, I'm just putting a little blob in the top, right, and this just keeps everything fresh and stops everything from drying up. Nice little tip there. Now we're going to mask up, because our gun bay, you know, it's a bit to be desired, because we've had to glue it all together. You know, not everything's glued perfectly, you know, so I'm just kind of masking it up just to keep everything sort of tidy around it and not mess anything up else around it. Spraying some black paint down so as we can see what it's all going to look like when there's paint down on the model, right? It just shows and indicate what work needs to be done, which, as you can see, we can see there's like gappy spots, there's kind of just clean spots. You know, we haven't got like the nice recessed panel lines you want to be seeing. So we've got some tools here that we can use, all sorts of pea cutters and razor saws. Now when putting in recessed panel lines, you want to hold the blade, in this case, really like you can see in this video here, and I tend to really try to teach it's move the model, not your hand, not the tool. Move the model and you just get so much straighter cuts. Now I'm starting with a razor saw because the razor saw is more capable of creating straighter cuts than the pea cutter, but it just makes that little bit of a trench to make it easier for the pea cutter to then cut in and not be slipping all over the place all the time. So start with the razor saw, then the pea cutter, and rotate the model, and you can get some really nice straight lines going freehand. Now a bit of plastic putty here, because you're gonna slip now and then. As you can see, there's a little couple of slips here and there, maybe gone a bit too far in some cases, and we just put that plastic putty. It's just really cool because it just injects right where you need it to be injected. And then we can just let that dry and sand that down at a later date. Now I'm just going to again come in with my sewing needle, and I mean there are lots of other tools out there that you can put recessed rivets back in. I just like the control of being able to do each one individually as I go along, and you can, the more pressure you put down, the deeper it is and all that kind of stuff. Now I'm just sanding the areas down where I'm just kind of cleaning up the plastic putty. And I can use a template to get those straight edges to kind of really just scrape out the plastic putty more than anything. Using a brush here, toothbrush, and this is just to clean up all the sanding dust that's got into the recessed panel lines and recessed rivets, right, because you spray paint on it and it's going to act like a filler. And then we can again put some more spray paint down and see how our work's looking, just to check it's all good and there's no extra work we've got to do. They're using some hobby colour thinners here. Basically just going to clean this all up. It's pretty kind of easy just to kind of rub that on and clean everything up, ready for whatever we want to do next. And it's also another cool indicator of how our work is. As you can see, really clear of what was going on there with the recessed panel lines and rivets. And again, we could come in with a toothbrush and clean that paint up. Now I've kind of glued this together, and it's really, it's surprisingly a really good kind of fit. I mean, I've had no real problems with big kind of fit issues, you know, just a couple of clamps and then we glue it, and no major issues, especially when you consider how the design of like these big engines on the wings, as you can see here, you'd think there might be an issue or something here, but Tamiya's done a really good job with this. Just peg it down and we can glue that in with Tamiya extra thin cement. And there we have it. There is our basic shape going on. So let's get some a canopy sorted out. As you can see, crystal clear, no need for dipping, no need for polishing. Right, now I'm going to make my own canopies for this one, so I like to just get some Tamiya masking tape down and use my nail to kind of dig it into the grooves, and with a nice fresh number 11 blade we're just going to follow those grooves. Kind of good to have a light on the back of that just to help you see it better, and then we just carefully peel that away. Now when it comes to gluing, I do like to use Tamiya extra thin cement on the front part of the canopy. Just be careful you don't touch the masking tape or you're going to destroy the canopy basically. There's no coming back from that. Just testing that the pilot fits in there still. Now some micro crystal clear. Now this is just a little blob here and there just to kind of lightly glue that into place, so as plain and simply I can pop it off later on down the line. And a bit of what was that, a cotton wool bud there just to finish it off. Now sadly that is the end of part 1. Next up we'll have part 2 where we'll be doing decaling, spraying and weathering and finishing it all up. So just part 2 of 2 coming up next, but as always, my name is Bob Waldron, this is Genesis Models, and I hope you've enjoyed.